You're sitting in a room with someone you trust. They're smiling, talking warmly, but beneath the surface, they're shaping your thoughts, planting ideas, controlling your decisions without you even knowing it. Sounds terrifying, right? But this is how manipulation works. It's all around you. At work, in your friendships, and especially in your relationships. And the most dangerous part? It happens so subtly that most people don't even see it coming. This is the dark psychology of manipulation. And if you stick around, I'll show you not only how to recognize these tactics, but how to defend yourself against them. And maybe, just maybe, use them to your advantage. Let's start with a familiar example. A high school social hierarchy. Think of the kid at the top. Popular, charismatic, but always pulling the strings in subtle ways. Maybe they manipulate who sits with who at lunch, who's included in plans, and who's not. It's all about power dynamics. They make it seem like everything is happening naturally, but behind the scenes, they're orchestrating every move. This is manipulation in its earliest form. Let's start with defining manipulation. At its core, manipulation is psychological control. It's not about persuasion in the traditional sense, where both sides benefit. Instead, it's about one person gaining power over another, using hidden tactics to shape thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Psychologists like B.F. Skinner and Sigmund Freud laid the foundation for understanding behavioral control and the unconscious mind. Manipulation taps into these human vulnerabilities, our need for acceptance, fear of rejection, and desire for control over our own lives.
Welcome, Future Success Stories, in your channel S for Success. If you're finding this video helpful, hit that like button. It's a small click for you, but a big boost for us. Don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tricks to level up your life. We're just getting started, and there's so much more coming your way. Exclusive insights, powerful strategies, and real stories that can change your game. Your thoughts mean the world to us, so drop a comment and let's make this journey to success together.
Let's have example about other type of manipulation. Think of the toxic boss at work. They might compliment you one day, telling you how invaluable you are to the team. But the next day, they undermine your confidence by pointing out every minor mistake. They create a constant push and pull, making you strive for their approval. This is classic manipulation, using praise and criticism to keep you off balance, constantly working harder to gain favor. Manipulation often goes unnoticed because it's subtle. It's not always about overt control. Instead, it seeps in through small actions, words, or even emotions that push people to act against their own best interests. Imagine a romantic partner who frequently uses the phrase, "If you really loved me, you would do this." It's a tactic to guilt you into doing things you're uncomfortable with. Over time, you start to question your boundaries and give in, even when you don't want to. Other example for what manipulators do. Let's take a workplace scenario. Your colleague keeps making small jabs at your performance. When you finally confront them, they say, "Wow, you're so sensitive. I was just kidding." Suddenly, you feel like the one in the wrong, and you start second-guessing your reactions. This is how emotional manipulation works. It turns the tables, making you question yourself instead of the manipulator. This tactic is one of the most well-known forms of emotional manipulation. It is gaslighting, where the manipulator makes you doubt your own reality. In relationships, this can look like a partner who constantly denies things you've seen or heard, making you question your memory or perception. The term gaslighting comes from the 1944 film Gaslight, in which a husband manipulates his wife into believing she's losing her mind by subtly changing elements in their home environment and denying they were ever altered. Manipulators have a full arsenal of other tactics beyond just gaslighting. The most powerful manipulators use emotions to their advantage. Emotional manipulation involves guilt, shame, fear, and even love to steer someone's decisions. Ever been in a conversation where someone seems to be leading you to a specific conclusion without you realizing it? That's a hallmark of manipulation. It's often about steering conversations, planting suggestions, and framing narratives in a way that benefits the manipulator. Think about negotiations at work. You're discussing a promotion, and your manager says, "I know you're doing great, but everyone else on the team has been working just as hard. I'm I'm not sure this is the right time to single anyone out. They've planted doubt in your mind and made you feel like asking for more is selfish. This kind of manipulation happens all the time in professional settings. Remember the infamous case of Jim Jones and the People's Temple? Jones used emotional manipulation, isolation, and fear to control his followers, ultimately leading to the tragic mass suicide at Jonestown. While this is an extreme example, it highlights how far manipulation can go when left unchecked. Cult leaders are often master manipulators, using isolation, fear, and praise to create an environment where their followers are completely dependent on them. By controlling the information their followers receive and fostering a sense of us versus them, they can manipulate people into extreme behaviors. Manipulation can cross over into a darker territory, where it's used not just to control but to harm. This is where the line blurs between subtle influence and outright abuse. Manipulation in relationships can be one of the most damaging forms because it affects not just your decisions, but your self-esteem, boundaries, and emotional well-being. It often starts small, but can escalate into a toxic cycle. Picture a relationship where every argument ends with one partner saying, "You're overreacting," or "You're too emotional." Over time, the other person starts to believe it. They suppress their feelings, walking on eggshells to avoid conflict. This is manipulation at its core, breaking down someone's confidence and sense of self-worth until they're entirely dependent on the manipulator for validation. Manipulators use a range of tactics to gain control. Some are overt, while others are more subtle. Here are the most common techniques you should watch out for. Gaslighting is a psychological tactic used to make someone question their own perceptions, memory, or reality. The term comes from the 1938 play Gaslight, where a husband manipulates his wife into believing she's going insane by dimming the gaslights and then denying it when she notices. In real life, gaslighters use denial, contradiction, and misinformation to make the victim doubt their sense of reality. This can happen in various relationships, romantic, familial, or workplace, and can lead to the victim becoming dependent on the gaslighter for their perception of reality. Love bombing involves showering someone with excessive attention, compliments, and affection to overwhelm them emotionally. This tactic is often used early in a relationship by a manipulator to establish control quickly. They make the victim feel incredibly special, which lowers their defenses and creates emotional dependency. Once the person is hooked, the love and attention often disappear or are used as a tool for manipulation. Guilt tripping is when someone manipulates your feelings of guilt to control your actions or decisions. They make you feel as if you've wronged them, even if you haven't, leading you to act in ways that benefit them or harm yourself. The goal is to make you feel responsible for their happiness, discomfort, or problems, thus controlling your behavior. Triangulation is a manipulation tactic where the manipulator brings a third person into a conflict or situation to create confusion, intensify rivalry, or gain control. By pitting people against each other or introducing outside opinions, the manipulator can stay in control and shift focus away from their behavior. This often causes emotional distress and division between the involved parties. Most of manipulators uses all the four techniques and mix them together for better control over you. Manipulation can be a silent predator, creeping into every aspect of life, from our workplaces to our closest relationships. Understanding the subtle tactics that manipulators use is the first step to defending yourself. As you begin to recognize these behaviors, you'll start to reclaim power over your own decisions, emotions, and life. Having examined these tactics, the real question becomes, how do you protect yourself? See you in the next video to tell you more about how to defend yourself and others against manipulation. In the end, true strength lies not in controlling others, but in mastering yourself. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe the channel. It is the kind of support we need from your side to produce more useful videos.